By the way, Starting Strength has sold over 1 million copies. We've sold over 1 million copies of that title.
With zero marketing dollars.
You're not advertised at all.
People are finding this because it's so valuable.
Because they know somebody that did it and said, here, buy this blue book, do this.
Yep.
And they do, and they see that it works, and then somebody else buys it, and here we are. But, the 20 years since I sat down and started writing that book, a lot of stuff has occurred, and a lot of people have gotten strong as a result of that work that I did back in 2004 and 2005. And I'm happy to have contributed to that experience. But the people did the work. The guy got under the bar. He did the first 2 sets of 5. And then he got under the bar for the 3rd set of 5. And he got down to the 5th rep of the 3rd set of 5. And he said to himself, this is heavy. I think I ought to put this up. I might not get this last rep. But instead of doing that, he said, nah, fuck. Ripto hears about this. I'll be,
What's the worst that could happen?
What's the worst that Ripto hear about it? So he goes down to the 5th rep, and he starts back up, and he grinds through the 5th rep, and it's hard, but he does it.
Mm-hmm.
He does it because he doesn't give himself permission to not do it. That's what this RPE shit's all about, Rating of perceived exertion. Well, if you think it's hard enough, then you did enough work and you get to put it up.
Yeah.
No, what happened is you're a pussy.
You're just not strength training.
You're not strength training.
Yeah.
You're just doing some version of bodybuilding.
Yeah, which is cool.
But unless you try the last rep of the last set, then you don't have any data about what you could do that day. If you don't gather the data, then you don't have the data. Now, you might have gotten stuck at the bottom. That's data. Tells you what to do next time. Or you might have ground through that 5th rep. That's data. Now you've got data about what to do the next workout, because our program is not about today. It's not about the immediate circumstances under which we're moving this barbell around. What we're doing is we're gathering data that we're going to use next time on the next workout. And that's how this thing works. It's a program. It's not where you just come in and play on the machines and go home.
Yep.
Which is what happens in the vast majority of these standard industry circumstances. It's just, that's what the machines are for. You just go in there and play and get a pump in your quads.
Hey, if you want to bodybuild, knock yourself out. But by the way, the 2-factor model applies to you too, and you'll be a better bodybuilder if you're stronger, obviously.
Well, that's because all of the good bodybuilders whose names you know
were strong as hell.
Like Coleman and Yates. Those guys are strong.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They're not just playing around in the gym. They're strong. They understand the relationship between moving more weight and growing bigger muscles.
Yep.
Well, this whole thing reminds me, like, my experience with Starting Strength has shown me the value of a coach in general. So, like, the Starting Strength coaches are fantastic, like high-level coaches that demonstrate practical outputs with a bunch of experience.
Right.
And that concept has actually shown me the value of coaching in general.
Same.
And so I look at it like, if I've got an important problem to solve or an important thing to do, let me go find somebody that's practically an expert and is a good coach, which being an expert has nothing to do with being a coach.
Yep.
But if
Two
you find
separate skills.
Right. You find somebody that does both in one package, and then you can afford to hire them to coach you through that important problem, you will have exponentially better outcomes And so I've actually had my whole perspective on coaching in general shift in a positive way because of starting strength.
Same.
And it's improved other aspects of my life through this experience.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep. And learning to become a coach is such a valuable process. Like my kids, they're going to learn how to coach because you learn how to communicate, you learn how to prioritize.
Right.
It's the, if we're social creatures that benefit from having positive interactions with each other and helping each other level up, helping each other achieve our potential, coaching is the mechanism that enables that.
That's the concise name for that process.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So you mentioned how the guys reading the books, the guys and gals reading the books are the ones that actually did the work. I found your program in 2012, and we were in touch. In the early days, I went to like 4 or 5 seminars. I did the program, and I remember telling you I was so skeptical, and I just could not believe of all the stuff I've tried. I mean, I've tried the standard gym bro stuff. I've tried P90X. I've tried, you name it. I've tried yoga, whatever I could do to get into better shape.
Right.
This is the only thing that actually worked. And
it worked immediately.
Right away. I mean,
it immediately worked.
Yeah. The primal stuff you mentioned, just the way I noticed other people interacting with me in public was the first change that I noticed. But the point I'm trying to make is I was frustrated in the early days before the franchise because I remember people having arguments on the internet about whether or not starting strength worked. And I was like, oh no, it works. If it's not working for you,
you're doing it
there's
wrong.
something wrong with you.
Right.
So one of the coolest things about the gym franchise is like it's a giant nationwide lab where there's not a single, just like you've said all along, if you're a human with normal physiology and you do this process, it will work. If you're a post-pubescent human. So we have thousands upon thousands of people that have been through this process, and we've tracked all their data in a logbook.
Right.
And Ben is building a front end to that, and we'll be able to just say, okay, you're female, age 55. These are all the other women in your same demographic, and this is how strong they got and how quickly they got stronger.
Right.
And then, obviously, to Nick's point about communication, and to your point is then being able to explain why that matters is so important. Mm-hmm. And so to tie that back to an earlier topic we were covering, you guys mentioned on a podcast maybe last week or a couple of weeks ago about how we did not evolve to live as long as we're living now. And so if you run that thought through and you think to yourself also that the body adapts to its environment, and so you have these people living way longer than evolution prepared them for in an environment with almost no taxing physical activity.
Right. No resemblance to the environment in which our phenotype evolved.
Right. And we stand up on 2 legs with this spine that evolved for
quadrupedal locomotion.
Exactly.
Right.
What do you think your experience is going to be if you don't load your spine? You have to load your spine if you want to have a good life. I mean, that's my firm belief. If you're over the age of 40, you have to load your spine if you want to have a positive existence. So then the question is, well, how do you do that safely? And I'm not partial to barbells. I don't care. If chopsticks did the job, I'd use chopsticks. But like the barbell happens to be the best tool on earth.
It's the best tool on earth.
So learn how to use a barbell.
What is not the best tool on earth is the recent fad of the trap bar. That's just sales. It's just marketing. It's sales. It puts the body in a position that it's not really. That's not the optimum position from which to pull.
Sure, and I think we generally agree on that. But there's one part I maybe slightly disagree with you on, which I'm curious about your perspective. I'm happy the trap bar exists. And I'm happy that people use the trap bar because that's better than what they'd be doing otherwise. Would I rather they train with a barbell and get a coach? Of course. But if people are lifting heavy weights and not hurting themselves, I'm happy. And the more intelligently they do that and the better outcomes they get, I'm even happier. But I just want people lifting weights and getting stronger.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's charitable. That's a very charitable attitude. And I applaud you for your charitableness. But...
well,
I mean, every gym's already got a bar.
Sure.
You don't need to buy a trap bar.
Sure.
You just need to learn how to deadlift.
If you're going to buy a bar, don't buy a trap bar. No. There's a book you can buy to learn how to do this. Yeah. Or better yet, hire a coach. If you can afford a coach, hire a coach. Or you can do it like I did and just fuck around for months and get some of it right. I mean, I fucked it up royally and it still worked. So, there's better ways.
I wrote the Blue Book, and I've modified the Blue Book and rewritten bunches of it several times, where I think what we've got now is a product that an intelligent person can use to learn how to do these lifts correctly. Mm-hmm. And with the help of the Blue Book. Which, makes, for some people, makes a coach optional. Mm-hmm. If they can get the material out of the Blue Book, then that's what they should do.
Yep.
And I think that it's also important to note that people who are motivated to do this will figure out a way to get it done correctly. Mm-hmm. They'll figure out a way to get it done. Post a video on our website. We have a technique forum on the website where people can post videos of themselves lifting, and we've got myself and a bunch of other really good people contributing to that board that will watch your technique and give you almost immediate feedback on what you're doing wrong.
Yep.
And the website, I've said that the book has sold over 1 million copies. I think, and I don't know what would contradict this, I believe that we are the largest strength training website on the internet. Join us again this coming Friday on Starting Strength Radio. We are going to have a long, rambling, almost pointless discussion with our friend Ray Gillenwater. We'll talk about our vision for what the company gets to do in the future and the basis for the whole damn thing. Join us this Friday for Starting Strength Radio.